Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I want to introduce one of my clients who I have had the privilege of coaching over the past few years. Her name is Kristen, and she is Vice President, Wealth Management Advisor. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for working with me. It's been such a pleasure. Kristen has been in my Thrive Group coaching program. She's been part of my Freedom Group coaching program, and we're about to start a new round together in the fall. But what I wanted to do is because Kristen and I have been working together for a good amount of time, really showcase the growth that she's experienced, most specifically in the last 6 months together in my coaching program, Freedom. So, Kristen, why don't you just tell them a little bit about you, who you are, maybe where you live, your life, kids, whatever you want to share that just introduces my world to you.
Sure. Yep. My name's Kristen. And I'm a financial planner, or my official title is VP Wealth Management Advisor. I live in New York City and Brooklyn with my husband and my two kids. And have always been in pursuit of, the perfect work-life balance, which is it's difficult to achieve, but Lauren's been so helpful at finding the right balance for me. I have, like Lauren said, worked with her for a few years, but more specifically, since November of last year, we had talked about doing more one-on-one style coaching. And she actually circled back to me at this sort of perfect moment. I had just returned from a maternity leave and had talked to my boss about the opportunity for a promotion in the following year. And she had just laid out these specific parameters that I would have to reach to be able to attain that promotion. And at the next day, I got a follow up email from Lauren saying, "Hey, we said we'd revisit this. This is something that is this the right time for you?" And it just so happened that it was. So what she did was help me, switch my mindset from I, I would say that I was at that moment coming back to work from my maternity leave. I originally was in the mindset that I just wanted to find more balance to spend more time with my family. And then after this conversation with my boss, and she shared with me what I needed to do to achieve this next level, which would mean higher compensation that was very attractive to me. I realized that I wanted to go for it. And I didn't actually at that moment believe that I could necessarily achieve it, but I wanted to try. So we got started. And the 6 month program coincided really nicely with that push. And it was a 4 month push, it was a 6 month program. So she was able to help me see it all the way through and achieve, with a few weeks to spare, the goal.
Amazing. All right, so let me pause right here because I want to frame it for anyone. So Kristen came perfect timing where she had 4 months to promote from the moment that I emailed her, and it just happenstance we reconnected. She was at a point where I think, Kristen, you said your belief was like a 6 out of 10, 10 being 10 out of 10 would be like 100%, I'm commit, like this is happening. So Kristen came saying, I'm at like a 6 out of 10. And we're like, all right, so our work was to get your mindset not only to a 10 out of 10, but then to tactically create a plan so that you could achieve what you needed to in 4 months.
Hmm.
Now, some people who promote or are on a promotion schedule, it's not, there are different metrics, right? Everybody in every company has different metrics. For you, would you say that you had to push to get to those, like those through those 4 months? Was it just like cruise control? Like, tell us what you had to
Yeah.
experience in that period of time.
Yeah. So what was nice about the framing of this is I needed to achieve quantitative goals. So it was very clear what I needed to do in a certain time horizon. And we could literally look at numbers and say, okay, how many people do I need to be in front of to do XYZ, right? Um, so at that moment, it was a number that I had never achieved in that time frame before, so it definitely felt like a push or a stretch, but
Mhm.
it didn't feel impossible, right? Because we had that 4 month. It felt like if I set myself up properly from the beginning, that it was possible. But I didn't believe at that point that it would definitely going to happen. Although it actually wasn't that long, I don't think, before I did believe it, right? Because we could start to see it working.
Absolutely. What was really fun was when we reconnected. I remember the first time after reconnecting, I held up a mirror to you and I was like, hey, Kristen, like, I noticed this one thing that's holding you back in your own movement. And I bet you that's
Mm,
what's holding your clients back and moving forward with you. And I
yeah,
felt like in that moment, that's where your mindset turned on of like, ah, I see it for myself. I see it for my clients. Let's friggin' go. And that's
yeah,
where I think once we just started, we ran because we knew exactly what we needed to do to get your mindset. Like, I feel like we went from 6 to 10 almost like immediately because
really
we
fast.
positioned you. And then we focused on a topic like essentialism of like what's most important. Tell us what that looked like for you of like focusing on what's essential for someone who has a million things to do, like all of us do. What did that look like for you? And what did you have to say no to or hold off or kick down the road?
Yeah, I think I had to be really, really mindful of what tasks I do in my day that are mine and what that either don't need to be done at all or can be completely delegated, right? So there was some of that, which is probably the easy part, right? But for me, it was more of this mindset shift that had to happen. Like you said, it happened pretty fast, where I needed to believe that I was the right person in that moment to help that person achieve what we're trying to do. And I think that there was another very related moment that happened together where I had a realization that in some circumstances, by not being persistent enough to help a client see that something made sense for them, in some cases they were worse off,
Mm.
right? That
Hmm.
it, that it that I thought I was just being sort of hands off and helping them help themselves, but if I wasn't doing my job well enough, they were worse off, right?
Right. So there was a part of you that like kind of learned in the while it felt maybe like a push for you, it was actually being in greater service to your
In
clients.
greater service to my clients, and that's when it all connected. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. So you had 4 months to hit this target.
Mhm.
You told us you hit the target. You told us you actually hit it early. How early were you on the target?
I think about 3 weeks.
Why do you think that was?
It's funny because it I technically hit it 3 weeks, but, like, in our heads, we were done in, like, January. So this was, like, a March 31 deadline. So it was, like, done 3 weeks prior, but it was, like, done, almost 3 months prior. So the why was the mindset shift, but then focusing on the right opportunities at the right time and really front loading that and being willing to work those extra hours, those extra meetings, the extra time at the beginning to set myself up to hit the numbers we were looking for.
Amazing. So what I love is like for anyone working backwards with the number, if somebody heard Kristen just now, it was like, wait, you had 4 months to do this. You said you kind of knew in your head it was done 3 months before the deadline, which meant a month in, you had built the mindset, you
Mhm.
had the plan, and you were just actioning it to the finish line.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I think is so different than when we work with when I talk to other people, the difference that your success to me showed was that you weren't waiting 4 months for the plan to work. You decided within the first few weeks, here's the plan, here's what I need to do, and I'm just going to keep consistent until I get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we were using, like, the analogy of, like, running the marathon,
Mhm.
right? And, like, occasionally we would check it and say, like, "Where are we?" And you'd be like, "You just crossed the bridge. You're at mile 16," right? Because there were moments where I was like, "This isn't hurting enough," right? I've still felt like I was in, like, this, like, gliding, you're when you're feeling good and you're running and you're like, "I could run for another 10 miles," right? But there were moments later where, things aren't going as expected. Now they're, okay, well, I'm looking and now we're down to 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? Um, that you felt that a little bit more. But there was a while there at the end where we were just in the park.
Yeah, if anyone knows the New York Marathon, it's like Central Park can be the most painful part when you're like in the park and you're like, I'm at the finish line, I'm practically there. It's in Central
Yeah.
Park, but you still have a good chunk of miles left to finish. So
Right.
that's how it was for us at that last part. We're like, we're in the park, which is already a mindset shift of like, I'm practically there. And then
Yeah.
just holding that steady, one
Yeah.
step, 1 foot, 1 mile at a time, right? And then that's how you got there. So cool. I love it.
Yeah. It
Now,
was
was it,
cool.
go
Yeah.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna share that like with what I do, I mean, I never I work with clients and I work on their time frame, right? And I, work on their needs and their goals. So I've never been in a circumstance where I've had, okay, a specific stretch by a specific date. That's just not really how I operate. And it didn't feel like it jived with the way that I work. But the reason it did work is just because it became more about finding new ways to help clients in the right way. And then the rest would follow because we can't predict everything. It's not all knowable. But if we're
Mhm.
doing enough of the right things, then it was able to come together.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is interesting in Kristen's role, and for a lot of us who are building books of business to promote, is it doesn't just stop there, right? So once we hit the goal, our work for those 2 months that followed were how do we make this, go from high into like from almost like a boil to a simmer because we
Hmm.
were in full energy to hit the goal. But now we have to think about how to be in simmer energy where things keep going. I maintain consistency and I'm still hitting my book of business. How did
Right.
that pivot for you? How did that transition feel?
Yeah. I mean, it, it was exciting to be able to achieve what I set out to do, but I, need to continue to operate at a high level, right? Sort of continuously. It's not like you hit the level and you coast or something. Like I like the idea of a simmer, like you mentioned, because it's still, a boil. It's just not, we're not flying out of the pan, but we're
Mhm.
still, keeping things hot, right? Or cooking it, what's going
100%.
on in there.
Mhm.
So that, that what's nice is since then, um, I'm not working on a tighter time horizon. I can operate more normally, but I've been able to stay at a higher level in terms of my mindset and my belief and how careful I am about the activities that I'm doing, the activities I'm not doing. So being really, really meaningful about my time because it is still really important to me to balance as best I can between my work life and my family life because that's my why. My family is my why.
Mm, I love that. Do you feel like through this work, you now have a sustainable way now that we're past the promotion, we know that you hit it, but even towards your next promotion goal?
Yeah, I think that when I made this shift in my mindset, it was more like a switch, right? I sort of innately knew that like it wasn't like I would do that and go back. It was this is the new way that
Mm,
I operate. So that's helped me build confidence that I can continue on and hit whatever level, you know, I strive to in the future. Which I never believed before or even desired, right?
yeah.
So so we're taking it a year at a time. But I don't really believe that there's anything I can't do.
Like that literally, you were saying that and I have like chills and maybe because I'm wearing like a vest and air conditioning, but real like as she said that, like such a beautiful thing that it's not even about, right, promotion after promotion. It's who Kristen is now through this work that she can hit any goal that she decides, right? It's not just about, okay, like robotically, now I promoted, I have to hit the next goal. It's like, okay, I could take a moment, still
Hmm.
simmer in my career, balance my home life, and keep going.
Right.
So a perfect example of that, where, tell us about how you're balancing work and life. Are you traveling right now? How are you downshifting in this maybe summertime if you're watching this now? We're recording in the summer. So tell me how
Yeah.
that's going for you.
Yeah. I mean, balancing is an endless struggle, right? I would say right now I'm doing a pretty decent job. I am traveling. I was just off for a week last week. I'm going to be away with my family the end of this month. I'm traveling the end of August, but going to do some combo work from home and take time off. And that's really important to me. Neither my family or my husband's family lives locally, so in the summertime, that's when we go out to see them. So we will do that sort of no matter what. And this my goal this year is to just continue to operate at that high level when I'm working and when I'm off, to be off,
Mm,
knowing that the good work I've done in those other times allows things to continue even if I'm not working, right? So I don't need to feel like guilt about that. So I'm doing taking the time I need to. Does that mean occasionally I log in at night, right? Or during a nap? I do, right? But I'm much better about picking and choosing those times, and careful about the time that I give outside my family life.
amazing. So good. All right. Tell me why coaching has been helpful for you. Why has it been a good decision for you in this promotion period, or maybe even when we first met? Like, why do you feel like it was helpful for you in your leveling up?
Yeah, I mean, the coaching experience is what helped me to make that mindset shift. I don't know that I would have otherwise, right? So Lauren helped me believe in myself, right? She constantly checks in on, where our belief is at, right? 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever. But in what we do, right, we want to strive to be a 10 out of 10. And I don't think that I believed that before, and I do now.
Mm,
So that's been the major shift that's taken me, I think, to the next level. And then in so many ways, she helps me create a framework to work within to prioritize different actions. We kind of dig into, some like I think one time I was just going crazy because my calendar had too much stuff on it, right? And so we can get as granular as we want, um, but that mindset and the belief work, I think, has been the biggest shift for me.
amazing. Amazing. This is so exciting. Tell me, there's some obvious things, you're now newly promoted. Like anything else that comes to mind that you're celebrating? It sounds like a refreshed mindset, maybe a salary increase. What else? Maybe what else? What else is going on that's
Yeah,
something that
yeah. I
gives
mean,
you
the
celebration
goal
for?
the goal of me of achieving the promotion was to make more money to be able to provide for my family in a more meaningful way, right? And that drives me. It meant that it was a higher compensation, but for the essentially very similar work that I was doing. So that has been um, a huge shift for me. That ended up being, a much larger bonus, and just higher compensation for the work that I was already doing, which has been really meaningful to me.
Amazing. I'm also hearing more time with your family.
Hmm. Yep.
Sounds like a little bit less stress, more vacation.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Spending more time with my family, taking the vacations that I want to and need to, right, to step away. And that's that's what I want. I don't want to work 80-hour weeks. I want to work more meaningfully. I want to be smarter about the way that I work. And I'm willing to put in the work I need to, but I'm not willing to give up the precious hours that I have with my family and my little kids.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, last question. What would advice might you give to someone who's thinking about coaching? They're watching this video, maybe they're looking for a promotion, maybe they're thinking about next leveling in their career as they're balancing their family life. What would you tell them?
I if somebody asked me whether coaching was right for them, I would encourage them to schedule like an intro session with you and get to know you and how you interact and how you connect. Because I think what's so unique about it is how personal it is and custom, right? Like I'm sure that every single client experience that Lauren has is totally different, but she's coming from the same place, from this warmth, this cheerleader, this strength, right? And kind of gives you what you need in that moment, right? So it's hard to even know what that's going to be until you have that conversation, at least to get started.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I love that. I was like, I feel the cheerleader and I'm like, all my clients, even though they're coming in with different circumstances, we're all going through the same methodology to get us from where we are to where we want to go, which is so cool. So I love it. All right, Kristen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. I can go on and on about the wins that Kristen's had as we've been together, but I'll leave this to today's promotion story. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on more time with your family. Congratulations for that raise. Congratulations for a stronger mindset. I'm so happy to see your growth, and I'm so happy to continue in the fall.
Me too. Thank you. I mean, that speaks more than anything, right? Is that I want to do this again. I think that you can continue to help me take things to the next level.
Amazing. Thank you. All
Thank
right,
you.
everybody. Thank you for checking in. See you soon.